squeeze into frame. I feel like
we have to adjust that. Oh well, that's cropped.
Yeah,
I think you're on a little bit more, but you can always come.
Well,
we can
it's
always get a
weird
little
being
more.
in this seat. I'm
How
used
does
to
that feel?
being on that couch.
What is the perspective like? How do you feel?
It's a little alarming.
It's alarming.
Yeah. I got some big shoes to fill. We've had so many guests in this seat that are like legends, and
You know what you also have though is you have that camera. You can look straight down. You can look at that.
stare into the soul of everyone on Twitch.
You got a whole new experience here. Well, we're gonna dive into something super special that I've been waiting virtually a year for. Max is, of course, a longtime art director, matte painter. Worked on a bazillion projects like Iron Man and Game of Thrones and Far Cry and Halo and Her and Godzilla and The Walking Dead and all sorts of other fun stuff. And of course he's my partner in KITBASH. So it's really cool to that I think we've all been dying to watch you rip on a Cintiq here.
Yeah, no, I've been itching, seeing everyone create so many awesome things on this whole festival. I've been just itching to get over here and make something.
Well, sweet man. I'm going to just adjust that thing to make sure the sound waves get.
They don't
to
want to hear me anyways.
Well, we've got something cool. We've got your reel teed up. So let's take a look at some of the work that you've done, and then and if you want, maybe you dive in and start opening your kit and getting ready to rock.
Let's do it.
All right, so we'll throw to Max's reel real quick, and real quick, and then we'll do it. Look at you.
Keep my head low. 1 foot into the next. I passed, yeah, you're too slow. You say you like the pressure, but how you like my back? I'm getting farther from you. Taste my dust. No looking back. No looking back. No looking back. Heat stroke. Bring the fire. Black smoke. I take it higher. I'm a heat stroke. And you can't touch me 'cause you know that I can burn you if you get too close. How you like me now? Can you hear the crowds? You're breathing hard, but I still got 100 miles. Untouchable. I live for this. I breathe for this. You know I bleed for this. Bring the fire, black smoke. I take it higher, heat stroke. Bring the fire, black smoke. I take it higher, I'm a heat stroke. And you can't touch me 'cause you know that I can burn you if you get too close to me.
And there you have it, folks. That is Max's reel. So what are we jumping into?
Well, I figured I'd play with the industrial kit.
I'm into that idea.
Yeah.
I'm into that idea indeed.
I'm gonna let everyone know on the Bob Ross channel there is a 3% chance of cabin, and not a lot of happy trees in this one.
Oh, come on. A couple friends, though.
A couple friends. There's definitely going to be a couple of
happy
friends.
trees. Well, if you're just joining us, this is the KITBASH3D Festival, where we are talking about art for movies and games. We just had our good buddy Jama on do a VR demo, and now we've got Max here who's going to show us. Well, you're going to do using the industrial kit. You're going to make a piece, huh?
That's the plan.
I'm going to sit back and enjoy this. We've got the industrial,
Okay,
we've got your
we go.
Cintiq. So what you're seeing on the left side of your screen is Max's computer monitor. and he's got the industrial kit open. What are you seeing here, Max?
What am I seeing here? I don't know. I just wanted to play today.
Oh.
You know?
He's leading us with soft expectations.
I am. Expect very little from me. And maybe something will come together in an hour. And hopefully, if not, you're going to be entertaining enough to cover for me, Banks.
Good luck to us. We got Hebron in the house. What up, Hebron? Hebron Gusti, all the way from Bali, or from Indonesia, not Bali, but Indonesia. Hebron was with us in the KITBASH3D last year. And Raji in the house. Ian, what's up, everybody? Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Droke, good to see you, my friend. Please keep your questions coming. I'm going to be fielding them as they come through. We got a cool one from a new chat joiner tonight. UFO Productions asking about creating an IP. We'll definitely get to that because Max is quite familiar with that. And now we're in. Okay, so you've got some railroads here, right?
I do have some railroads.
Good place to start.
Yeah, I'm thinking I want to do this kind of industrial city. I kind of want railroads in the foreground, so I'm just kind of, for me, I'm not even going to think about composition or lighting or anything like that. First, I'm just going to think about, I don't know, making a cool world that, that makes some sort of sense, and just kind of playing like it's Lego pieces. I mean, that's really...
We had James on the show earlier this week. James Pack was here, and he talked a lot about when he begins a piece, he wants to think about a moment in time. Do you have a thing like that for you that you think about when making a piece?
Definitely, yeah. I try to think of a moment when I'm doing lighting and the colors and when I'm trying to bring an emotion into a piece. When I start with just a kit and I'm just going to play around, I'm just trying to think of like a cool world and a layout that makes sense to me and something that could lead to some cool compositions. Yeah, a lot of the times if I'm doing a project for a client, I won't necessarily start this way. I'll start with sketches, but for this, I'm not trying to necessarily hit something specific. I'm more just trying to see what comes. Like let some serendipity play a role in this.
Let's talk a little bit about that. The difference between client work and personal work. And are you going to approach this like it's a personal piece?
Yes.
So when doing that, do you find personal work to be therapeutic?
Yeah, honestly, most of the time when I'm doing personal work, usually I have some image in my head that I have to get out. Or I'm just playing around and I have some vision that I want to hit, and I don't know why I want to hit it. And then once I've created the painting and I'm done with it and I look back at it, then I start to realize what I'm feeling. I'm like, oh snap, I didn't realize I was feeling overwhelmed right now. And then I look at a painting and it's a very overwhelming or anxiety or, it's a very intense painting. Or I'll be playing around in something really like calm and peaceful, and it's blue skies and it's happy, and it's like, oh, I guess I'm feeling happy.
That's a good one for the audience. We want to know a couple things about y'all out there. Are you artists? Are you 3D artists? And what kind of personal projects and what kind of work are you focused on, and what do you want next? I know that's a bunch of things. Maybe we can start with just, are you an artist and do you work in 3D? And so then, Max, what's the difference between a concept artist and a matte painter?
So a concept artist's main role is really to generate ideas and to visualize something from the script to guide a team towards a direction. Usually you're working really fast and you're just trying to generate a lot of artwork and a lot of ideas. A matte painter is a very, very different role. A matte painter is taking an idea and turning it into a photograph that's 100% believable. You're doing a painting that most people, if you're doing your job right, people shouldn't know it's a painting. It should feel like someone went out and filmed it or someone built a set. And so a lot of the times, rather than doing one painting in a couple hours, a matte painting will take weeks, or I've spent up to 6 months on a single matte painting. With incredible amounts of detail, and a lot of the times it has 3D built in so that you can animate a camera around it. So it's way more of a detail oriented, and what you paint is what ends up in the screen in the final movie or the final game. That painting is the final product.
And so the bulk of your career, would you say, has been in the matte painting side more than any other?
Yeah, for sure. That's really what my specialty's been, what I've been known for, and you know, that said, a lot of the times I'll do the concept art for the matte paintings I'm about to create. So, you know, there's a lot of, I'm doing concepts, but I'm also finishing those paintings when those concepts are approved.
Totally. Well, and then as a matte painter, you're working on concepts we've actually seen on this show in the past. We had Emmanuel Shu on, and E-Man once did the concepts for a Game of Thrones piece that you ended up doing the matte painting for, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
I didn't even know E-Man did it until years later, and then I saw the concepts on his portfolio, and it's like, hey, I did that matte painting.
You know, I read this actually online about you, that you painted the wall in Game of Thrones.
I've gotten lucky to work on Game of Thrones a couple times in my career, and one of the times was for that episode, the Battle of the Wall, when everyone was attacking. I got to do a couple matte paintings of the actual wall.
As I'm watching the chat, there's a Walking Dead ad right above here, which you also worked on.
Yep. I was one of the first designers on Walking Dead at the beginning in a concept art phase, and then followed that show to a different studio and ended up doing 2 seasons of doing matte paintings for it.
So now, as you're piecing through this, I see you shifting perspective a lot. Do you have a build in mind, or are you're just looking to piece things together based on intuition and instinct?
Yeah, I have a pretty strong idea now, just after putting a couple buildings down. And now what I'm doing is, like, some of these pieces they were blocking my composition, so I'm just going in here and modifying the pieces, deleting little rails and stuff like that so that we can see through it, and then I'll reveal the rest of the scene. And now I've just taken out the roof and stuff like that here so that we can see through it.
Right. Game Awful asks, will you use any third-party renderers for this piece?
Yeah, I'll be using Redshift.
Cool. And you're in Maya right now?
I am in Maya.
Right on. Y'all out there working in 3D, what software are you guys using? Who out there is working in Maya? Kalina says she's working in Maya. Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys got questions in the chat, I mean, I know you guys get to talk to me all the time, but, well, some of you do.
Yeah.
But fire away so that I have something to talk about and I don't have to... I talk with Banks all day long, every day, so please, someone else.
It says working in Maya and Redshift right now. Hebron's using 3D Coat and Blender. Nice. Kalina says I use a bear. If you do, Kalina. Raji wants to shift to Maya though. Droki's 3ds Max. We have some Blender, Clarice. Nice, right on. Yeah, the Clarice guys are good people. E-Man's in the house.
What's up, E-Man?
Hebron echoes, what's up? Max, will you do a second DPM course that's more advanced?
Oh, yeah.
DEMP course. DEMP course.
Thank you for asking. If you guys, whoever asked, probably saw my Learn Squared course. I love the guys that Learn Squared, and I love doing that first matte painting class with them and teaching that. But right now, KITBASH has me so busy, and I'd rather spend my time being able to do things like this. But that said, I believe Steve... I can't say anything.
I have a friend named Steve.
I have a friend named... There is someone else who may pick up that gauntlet.
But who knows?
But who knows? The future holds a lot of things. Anyway, that was my try and recover from that one. There's other people, though.
Game Awful says, why does it seem like more people are switching from Octane to Redshift? It's an interesting question.
You know... There's an amazing matte painter named Steve Corman who introduced me to Redshift. And yeah, I mean, I was debating both of them, and he really sold me on it.
There are, I think that there's so many awesome artists that are out there using Octane as well. Octane is super cool in its speed, but Redshift also is just an amazing thing. I mean, GPU rendering today is just light years of an advancement.
The truth is, like, there's so many different render engines. They're all really good, and they all have their own pros and cons, and a lot of it just comes down to personal preference. It's one of the reasons why KITBASH is very agnostic with that stuff. I might use Redshift, but I know Droke, our head of 3D, uses F-Storm and V-Ray. A lot of our whole Build Your World video was done in Octane.
Yeah.
There's so many ways you can go about it, and I think it really comes down to the pros and cons of each and figuring out what your own preferences are for it.
We'll see a lot of a few more different renders in the coming weeks, I know. Question for Max: what real life thing inspired you to go and make a piece of art?
What real life thing? Well, I can tell you that, like, one of my main just constant inspirations. I'm very fortunate that I get to travel a lot, and a lot of the times you'll be in some place, and like James Pack was talking about that moment, when you just take the moment in, and there's been so many of those for me, of like some serene, incredible, beautiful moment, and you just stop everything and you like take in all the senses, like the sound, the temperature, the lighting, the colors, the everything. I can remember being in Angkor Wat in Cambodia and seeing the sun come up over the big temple there, and it was one of those moments where you're like, I can't take a picture of this, I need to absorb this, but that sense of awe that you have at that moment is what I hope to one day be able to convey in one of my paintings. I hope one day someone can look at one of my paintings and get that sense of awe in the world that I create.
That's an interesting point, thinking about delivering a message with your image. Is that something you're focused on as you do it? Do you think about the person seeing it?
Yes and no. Yes, I think about what's the emotion I want to convey to the person who sees it. That's an important thing for me. Usually I have a specific emotion that I want to convey, and I think that's the beauty of art, is that a lot of the times art can convey an emotion that we don't have words for. And that's just a really powerful tool, and I think those, like, artists have a responsibility to use that tool, and if you can connect to someone, if you can connect to someone on an emotional level like that, that's just a really beautiful thing.
K Cookie has got a question in here. Is there a specific reason that you use the arrows and move by X and the Y instead of using the moving squares and moving X and Y at the same time?
Yeah, I'm trying to stick on a grid because this is a city, so I'm using the arrows, so I'm only moving it in one axis so that it can stay on a single grid.
From Tahuru, what was the first program you ever used when for building and rendering?
For 3D, I started in Maya 10 years ago, and I've stuck with it stubbornly. I've had to use a lot of software in my career, working for different studios. Sometimes you have to adapt. But Maya's always kind of just been the one I've had the most hours into, so I've felt the most comfortable with.
Nama Vishal asks, is that a Peter Hahn drawing behind you, Max?
It is a Peter Hahn drawing behind us.
Our buddy Peter was on the show a week ago tonight, and he brought us this image, which is from his IP, The Blacksmith. If you guys don't know Peter Hahn, check him out. Peter Hahn's Style on the Insta Tweet Faces. He's the man.
Insta Tweet Faces.
Yeah, that's all the places. That's everywhere. Everywhere's at.
The Insta Tweet Faces is all the places?
Is all the places. That's how you find everyone. Cookie says, why don't you move objects on the XY plane? Oh, we just got that.
Oh, yep.
A lot of talk about Blender. Blender's really cool. Blender's really cool because Blender's free. A lot of people are talking about how expensive a lot of the 3D software is. And that's quite true. Someone was talking about Keyshot. You used to use Keyshot, right, Max?
I did used to use Keyshot right before I switched to Redshift. Keyshot's really great because it's super intuitive, and if you don't want to learn lighting and rendering, you kind of don't have to with Keyshot.
The Pink Knight 21 says, "Hey Max, I'm new to concept art, and is there some good advice you could give me to improve?" First off, Pink Knight, welcome to the party.
Yeah.
What do you got, Max? What do you got for someone jumping in the game right in the beginning?
Be patient. Be patient. Learn the fundamentals. Check out Peter Hahn's talk. I mean,
honestly, yeah.
Like, learn the fundamentals for real. It's so easy to jump in and try to do this, you know, and this is fun, and it's actually is pretty easy for like in terms of using 3D. But the reason why you can make a good image with this, the tools make it faster. But in terms of quality of an image, it's understanding the rules, you know, the rules of composition, the rules of color, of perspective, of lighting, guiding an eye. What colors are what emotions. Like, every color has an emotion to it. Every composition has an emotion to it. And those are the fundamentals that allow you to actually convey a message or an idea in any tool.
Yeah. Diving in head first, going with all your might and intuition and your extra hours, and learning all that you can about the basics of this, and persistence. Right? Can we talk a little bit about that? I know how important that is for you, and I think there are a lot of people that could benefit from hearing just about the amount of hours and time that it took you to get to a place, even to just to get to a place of working at a professional level. What was that like for you in the beginning, and when did you know? You know what? Let's go back even further. We'll get to that. When did you know you wanted to do this?
I saw the first Matrix film, and I asked my parents right after it. I was like, "What is that? How do you do that?" And they're like, "That's CGI." And I was like, "That's it. That's what I want to do with my life."
Yeah, Matrix 1. Gotta ask that same question to the chat. What movie or video game out there inspired you? And you know, if you're not an artist, totally cool. But what movie or game has inspired you to seek more of a passion? Because I imagine if you're watching the show and you're hanging out on Twitch, that you do have a passion for movies and games. What are some of those pieces for you that really struck you? I think it's interesting for Max and I. You know, I knew it was The Matrix for him, and we talked about this a long time ago because it was The Matrix for me too. You know, and that there's something about receiving emotions from someone in a story that can take you all the way into it.
Yeah, completely.
It was really fun. 10 days ago, on our very first show in this festival, we had George Hull on, who had worked on the Matrix trilogy, and had that same sort of experience too with Matrix 1, where he just like was an art director at ILM and was like, I gotta get over here to work with the Wachowskis. Max, for your work, have you ever had to do all the 3D modeling and texturing?
Yes, many times before I really, before my matte painting career took off, there was a lot of time where I was just like, I'll work and do anything to be in a studio. And a lot of the times I was a 3D generalist, I was a character sculptor, I was you name it in the VFX world, and I've done it because I was just, you know, when you're starting out, you'll take anything that'll put food on the table.
Man, I'm going down the chat. There's so much awesome stuff being communicated. One thing, the chat is one of my favorite parts of this whole thing, and I love how many of you guys talk to one another. We've seen over the year or so that we've been streaming to this channel, how many of you guys have become friends, have started collaborating with one another, and just the fact that you guys are talking to each other nonstop in the chat is the coolest thing ever, I think. We got some games coming in. The first Command and Conquer game. Did you play that?
I didn't.
Have you played any of those top-down strategy, like Warcraft?
Age of Empires.
The original Warcraft, Age of Empires.
That was
the one for me.
That was the one for me.
Prometheus, Jurassic Park, Square Enix as an inspiration, 2001 Space Odyssey, Titanic, there you go. Well, tell us a little bit about where you are in this image and where you're going with it. We got 50 minutes, so you got some heat on you here, bud.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have this idea for a composition. I kind of have this city built out where I want it. Right now, the bridges I put down were a little too much and blocking too much because I think I want to do this kind of like upward angle of this like massive factory in this industrial town over here.
There you go.
And have kind of like a bridge that we're peering just through.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I'll figure out the composition a little later on. Getting pretty close to it, but yeah, I think right now it's kind of just honing in the layout of this whole thing that I have in my head.
There's a lot of talk about no cabins here. Honestly, I wonder. Maybe one will drop in.
I doubt it. I don't have a cabin in this kit.
Psychosis. I think I got that. Psychosis, that's what it is. Says, can we go back to the question about how you got started in your career? So you saw the Matrix 1 and you said, see, Mom and Dad, what's that? That's CG. I want to do that. And then where did you go? How did you break that? How did you go from being a kid, having never seen it before, to getting it?
Man, that's
a long one, isn't it?
I'll give you the short of it.
Well, okay.
Unless you want the long of it.
No, go with the short of it. We'll see. See if Psychosis asks for more.
I was pretty lost in high school. I didn't really have like a direction. I knew I loved art and I knew I liked doing this, but it just wasn't really a possibility for me. And I hated school. I knew I didn't want to go to college. It just was not meant for me. So I ended up in the Marine Corps recruiting office. And that's where I was going to go.
Yeah.
And I did all the tests, and I was going through it, and they asked me.
What was it about the Marine Corps that drew you?
My dad was Marine, and I really liked the idea of the pushing yourself. I really liked the challenge of pushing yourself to accomplish what you didn't think you could accomplish. I love the discipline of it. And so the last interview, I'd done all the tests, and the recruiting officer asked me what I wanted to do when I got out of the Marines. And I said, I'd probably work in film or games. He said, well, that's really competitive. And that's like all I needed to hear. And meanwhile, my mom was freaking out, right? She's like, oh my God, he's gonna go into the Marines. So she's like up all night Googling, like trying to figure out like how to get into the industry. Cause she's like, if I can find a college that teaches this, then maybe he won't do this.
Right.
And she found Noman School of Visual Effects. And she took me there, and after school one day, and I was like, oh my God, this is concept art, and these are all the people who are doing it. And I saw the world for the first time. It's like, I could actually do this.
And at that point, had you been drawing already?
Yeah, I had been drawing nonstop, doing art nonstop. I was taking classes at Art Center on the nights and weekends and stuff like that.
What kind of stuff were you doing at that point?
All traditional oil paintings. Like I had done digital for a while. Like I had done a bunch of graphic design competitions and stuff, and I got to a point where I was winning these online competitions every week.
Let's talk about those for a second. What kind of competitions were they, and what drew you to them?
They were back in the forum days. It was like they're called signatures. It's like the little image that goes underneath your name. And so everyone on forums had these signatures, little banners underneath them. And then they had these forums that were just for designing signatures. And then they had like design challenges every week. And so that was something I got into, and a lot of the times it was creating SIGs based on video games and movies. So it was a lot of that kind of stuff. And
did you find that diving into competitions helped you get reps and get connected to a community?
Oh yeah, huge. There was an amazing community there, and I did that for years, and I was always entering challenges every week, and finally I got to a point where I was winning a lot of them, and I from that, I got a scholarship to Otis to go study there over the summer as a high school student. So went and studied there and ended up moving more traditional art to learn the fundamentals. This is definitely the long of the story.
Well, I think we got a little bit of time here. We're let's talk just a little bit about process and how we can how you make an image. You have three chapters to an image or 2 stages to an image. In your workflow, what do you use? Do you go from Maya and
I'll just go to Maya to Photoshop on this one.
Okay, and then and so you'll finish there. So how about we do this in your blockout stage? We talk about the foundations of your art career, and then when we get into Photoshop, we'll talk about the finishing and the polishing and where we are now and the glossy stuff.
Sounds
So
good.
we'll take some of the long. We'll go as long as you're in 3D. We'll be talking about this.
Well, I'm going to be in 3D most of the time. So.
Well, maybe we'll speed up.
The long short of how I got in that, I was at Noman studying, and I was just taking extension classes, and I liked it there, but I didn't want to be in school, so I cold called every studio in the industry on the phone book. I offered to work for free, and called 200 studios in 2 days, and all of them said no, except for the last studio on the list, which was Zoic with a Z. They said, yeah, sure, you can go get people coffee. I started an internship and dropped out of Noman, and that was how I started my career.
So you were. What kind of an intern were you? Were you good at that?
No, I was a horrible intern. Yeah, I was so bad as an intern that when I finished my internship, the receptionist at the studio who was running interns, like telling them what to do and where to go, told me that I was the worst intern she had ever seen, and that they give you a grade or something, and she was failing me and putting in a strong recommendation that the studio never hire me.
But then you worked for Zoe.
A week later, I was the only intern who got hired. Yeah. I was a bad intern because I didn't want to get people coffee.
Well,
I was there to paint.
Let's talk about it. So you were an intern, which got you a foot in the door, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people are asking, what kind of advice do you have for getting your foot in the door? And so by being an intern, it got you in the room, right? It got you the ability to go talk to producers, right?
Yes.
And from that, how do you think it went from you being recommended as the worst intern of all time to but we did see his painting chops and we want him to work here?
Yeah, for me, whenever they'd always be asking people to who can go on a run and get people coffee and stuff like that. And I spent all of my time with the producers going, I can paint, let me paint. Mm-hmm. Let me show you what I can do. And so I kept myself so busy painting on shows that I was always too busy to go get people coffee.
Were the producers receptive to that, or they get out of here, kid?
No, they loved it because it was free for them. Their bottom line was I was doing paintings for them, and they didn't have to hire someone for it. So they were saving money on their shows.
So many people, I feel like that this conversation of whether or not to work for free is so often talked about. But for you, it worked out.
I'm a strong believer in it. There's a lot of there's studios that take advantage of artists, but I wouldn't say that that's what studios are set out to do. That not every studio is inherently evil and trying to do that. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times you don't have the track record. You can't. I mean, how does a studio hire you on if they don't know if you're going to do good work and you don't have a lot of experience? Mm-hmm. So it's a big thing to ask a studio to take a chance on you. And doing a project for free for them is an easy way to show them what you can do.
Yeah.
And to prove yourself, really, to prove yourself.
And if you're not being paid to have the opportunity or do the thing that it is that you want to do, putting yourself in the game can be your best chance.
Yeah, and for me, I was like, look, I'm working for free, and I'm here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's so I can paint, so I can learn, and so that I can work on shows as a matte painter, which is what I wanted to do. And so I was okay with them getting pissed at me for not getting coffee because I knew what my mission was.
How did you, having a mission, is that an important part of your process? Being clear on what your goals are?
I'm super goal oriented with everything I do. Goals are what get me up in the morning, what make me excited to do the things I do, is knowing what I'm working for, what I'm working towards.
Do you write out your goals? Is that important for you?
Yeah, in many stages. I have my daily goals, I have my weekly goals, I have my quarter goals, and then every year, New Year's for me is a big one because I write out all of my goals for the entire year. And now on top of that, not just my goals, the goals of KITBASH, the goals of Fuzzy, the goals of all of our companies, and I think it's two things are really nice about it. It's one, it keeps you on track, right? You don't get lost because you're not working without direction. You're not working aimlessly. And the other thing is when you accomplish those goals, being able to go back and see the goals that you set, and then see how you surpass them in some way, is really amazing.
And a big thing for you is having a theme on each of your years, isn't that right?
Yeah.
That at Christmas or so, how does that work for you?
That's another big thing for me at New Year's. I set one big goal. You know, what's the thing that I want to embody and learn, like embody in my life and learn this year? You know, for me this year it was enjoy the journey. You know, and stop racing to get somewhere and being able to take a step back and be happy with where I am. And it's usually that's like a very ambitious goal to try to get that. And most of the time I get it by the end of the year, but usually whatever I set as the goal is my biggest struggle the entire year. And this year it's been no different. It's been very hard for me to keep reminding myself to enjoy the journey, and there's definitely been a lot of points when I haven't enjoyed the journey. But as we get to the end of the year, I feel like I'm getting pretty close to getting this one under my belt.
Well, and that part of failing or faltering while you're trying to achieve something is a completely necessary part of any achievement, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think I am grateful for my failures. They really were the things who made me the person I am, and taught me the biggest lessons and let me evolve and grow. And a lot of the times they're super painful. Usually the biggest lessons are really painful to learn. But usually those are the things that you're most happy to have under your belt afterwards.
It's a very romantic idea, isn't it? That growth is painful, and but yet in practice it is some of the hardest moments in life.
Yeah.
Do you feel that from some of those? I mean, you went from being an intern and cranking away, and then kind of broad stroking over 10 years of 16-hour days,
skip, and
right?
a jump, and then
in
movies.
Many people are very curious about the beginnings for you. Was that a 16-hour days, and was that arduous, and were there weekends, and were there a lot of moments of what felt like utter failure?
I don't condone the hours that you have to do in the beginning, or that I did in the beginning. I don't condone it, but sometimes it's necessary.
You don't condone it, meaning?
I don't think it's a good idea
to
do
go
those,
you break?
Yes, to go until you break. A lot of the times you don't have a choice. Well, you really always have a choice, but really in the film industry, there's going to be a lot of times when you have to choose between a job or working that late. And I was so focused on what I wanted that I was willing to do anything and everything to get it. And a lot of the times that meant not sleeping for 4 days straight and working 100 hours, not in a week, in a row. Right? Like when you have not left the studio for 4 days and you have not slept and you're hallucinating from exhaustion. That's those are serious health impacts that are going to be with you forever. And so I don't condone those, and I hope that people don't have to experience them, but definitely the first really decade of my career, like almost all, at least the first 5 years was that on loop.
Would you recommend people not do that and take longer to reach their goals?
patience. It's just such a big thing. You know, for me, the last time I burned out real bad, like we're talking like real burnout, and this is something that I think a lot of artists experience. I had gone 50 days straight without a day off. I was running a studio. I was doing all these paintings. I was getting sick to my stomach every time I'd sit behind a Cintiq. So stressed out. Hadn't slept, and I finally just like broke, and it was like the 5th time in my career, you know, which is like to say that there were 4 other times that have pushed me to that limit. Like I can handle a lot, and I know where my line is because I've been pushed to it. And I just remember being in the fetal position, like sitting outside the studio, knowing that like I couldn't go anywhere. It was my studio. I had a project. I had to keep going, and I just didn't. I thought in that moment, what do I need to do to never experience this again? And if it takes me 4 more years to get there, or whatever amount of time to get there, so that I don't have to be here right now, it's well worth it. Because at the end of the day, that makes you hate art. You hate art when you have to do art. Like if you had to eat cupcakes and you had to eat 500 of them every day, nonstop, you'd be like, I hate cupcakes. I never want to taste another cupcake again. And that's how art became for me too many times. And so for that, I say, yeah, you have to work crazy hours, but be very careful to never do anything to make you fall out of love with art and not sacrifice your passion in that way. Because it's really hard to recover from that.
Very, very sound advice. JD Hilliard's in the house. What up, JD?
What's up, JD?
Just dropped a Discord invite. If y'all are on Discord, JD is the main dude on our KB3D Discord. Super active, awesome group. Join him in there if you're interested. Join all of us in there. It's a super fun forum for us to share inspiration and ideas and hang out in the time in between these live shows here. Cool. And Forrest Lamb's in the house. What up, Forrest Lamb?
What's up, Forrest?
Okay. So as we are, let's check in on your image here. Tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, I have a composition set up, like a little railway and factory in the top, these buildings. I'm just gonna add a couple more things to the background and then just start lighting this.
Cool.
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy complicated, but I think it's a cool composition and it'll do. And I'll probably tweak the camera a little bit more.
Do you find you're a hard critic on yourself?
Yeah, I'm the worst.
What is that something you're conscious of or something you're happy with? I guess
it's worked out very well in my favor because I like push myself very hard. So in my career it's worked out, but
I can imagine too in matte painting that is pretty beneficial, where in matte painting you're trying to push everything to the most perfect detail where everything has to go all the way. And like you said earlier, you usually have a lot more time on an image.
Yeah. You can see right now, I'm like not even caring about the rules of physics or anything. I'm just kind of making buildings floating up to fill up that background.
Well, and to make sure the audience is aware, this is a very unusual format that we do here on the show, where we have artists knocking something out. In Max's case, I think we started with 70 minutes to go. So making an image in 70 minutes is not a typical pace, certainly not for a matte painter, but even for a lot of concept artists.
Most of my paintings are about 100 hours on a single painting. So 1 hour is like, okay, well, something will get done.
Let's see what we can do and snap choices, which I think is a really fun thing for us to do. Y'all in the audience, do you like that? Would you like to see us do shows where we have one image over multiple episodes? Would that be something cool, or do you like this fast format? That's a question I would really like to know the answer. Max, is substance painter a core thing in concept art in this day and age, says the Pink Knight.
Substance painter, I've never used it, but I know a lot of people love it, and I don't know if it's 100% necessary for concept art. For 3D for sure. If you're a concept artist, I highly recommend that you spend as much time as possible finding as many shortcuts to speed you up as possible. It's honestly one of the reasons we have KITBASH, and why we wanted to build it is when I was doing concepts and even when I was doing matte paintings, I didn't want to spend my time modeling because that wasn't my core skill set. And if you're a really good painter, you should spend as much time possible painting and less time texturing or modeling.
A lot of talk in the chat about UE4. You know quite a bit about Unreal, yeah?
I do,
Why is that, Max?
because we made a video game.
What? Tell us about that, Max.
Yeah, it was a personal project that got out of control.
That's a good way to put it.
I started making a game with a childhood friend of mine and spent too much time on it. And then we were like, well, I guess we should probably publish it, and I guess we should form a company around it, and we should go partner up with Nintendo and Microsoft. And we ran the gamut on it, and we got to meet a lot of amazing people and cross the finish line and actually release a video game this year.
That sounds crazy, Max.
It was big. Yeah, it was super cool, but yeah, we built the whole thing in Unreal, and for the game I learned how to program over the course of 3 years and hope to never program again.
So to catch y'all up in case, I know we went through some massive leaps here. So Max started as an intern. We're
jumping around.
We're gonna take it all the way back to now. So started as an intern and dove in, got to work as a freelancer and as a staff artist for many of the top movie post houses and video game companies out there, working as a matte painter, as an art director. Then started his own studio, as he mentioned before when he was talking about that last most intense burnout phase. And then in there, at that point, right around that point, is when you got the spark to create a video game, right?
Yeah.
So to catch the audience up, the Max made a game called Sleep Tight. And in Sleep Tight, you play as a kid in your room, building pillow forts and fighting monsters. And that came at a time for you, if I recall this correctly, and tell me if I'm missing any pieces, where you were fed up with being under the shackles of someone else's creation, right? And you wanted to break out and do something that you had ownership of, right? This goes back to the IP question that came up earlier. What was the impetus for you to want to make your own IP?
The truth is that I had worked on so many projects, so many of other people's projects for so long, and I had every role possible, and I always felt like I was working for someone else, and a lot of the times I didn't necessarily get to have the type of creative contributions that I wanted to have to a project. And so I really had this mission to create without permission, and that's what the mission of our company Fuzzy is to create without permission, and never have to ask anyone, can I do this? Is it okay if I do this? And I had done so long working in matte painting and a lot of dark and gritty stuff. Even while we were doing Sleep Tight, I was doing things like Mindhunter or Far Cry or Titanfall, and all of those were like really dark, so I wanted to do something really colorful and fun and bright and something that made me feel like a kid again. And that's really where the inspiration for Sleep Tight came from, and a lot of the ideas and philosophies that we ended up building our companies around.
Do you think that, there are a lot of people who might hear that and say, yeah, I want to make my own thing. Do you think that the time you had, do you think you would have been able to do it at the way you did it without your experience on all those other projects?
Not as well. Maybe I could have. I probably wouldn't have had the same drive to. But I don't know. I don't know if I could have done it before. I know it would have been very different. Yeah.
Well, I think there are probably a lot of people out there, and y'all in the chat, check me if I'm speaking true for you. But I think there are a lot of people in the chat who are asking themselves that same question: Do I seek out making my own creative project, or do I jump on and work as an artist for hire on another creative ship?
I think there's something to be said about learning from other people who do this very well. I don't think it's a bad thing to go work for someone else for a little bit to learn as much as you can in the beginning. I think that's one of the best things you could spend your time doing is just learning. And if you can get paid to learn, I mean, that's incredible. So,
and I mean, I think there's something to note about people's circumstance. You have to look at where you are, and if taking a jump, involves a massive amount of risk, right?
Yeah. How much time we got, by the way?
You got about 24 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna start lighting this thing. Sorry, I'm listening to you. I'm following you, but I'm also gonna try to make sure we get an image done on time.
All right.
Yeah. Game on.
Well, MKTF says, been listening to your story for a few minutes from the front page. So inspirational. It's very comforting. Well, right on, MK. Thank you for joining the party here. So we've got Justin Gilmore says, he's talking to Forrest Lamb. I agree 100%. Client asks, hey, the design of the garbage can. Cool. I'm going to be communicating here with the chat here. So if y'all have questions, throw them in. Raji says, I love Vitaly Bulgarov's game in UE4. It's super cool.
Yeah, it is.
Machine Instinct that Vitaly's been posting about, that he actually, Vitaly has been working with Jama, who was on the show just a moment ago, on Machine Instinct. Super cool game. If you guys don't know Vitaly Bulgarov's work, do yourself a favor and check out his Instagram. Super cool guy, fantastic artist.
And buddy of ours, and had a blast running around PAX with him.
Yeah, just recently. I mean, Vitaly makes all is one of the lead robot designers for just about all the cool movies and games you've seen. Right on. All right, so you're going in here full speed. Maybe we can get a closer look on the action. So you set your frame, and you're still adding pieces into the puzzle.
Well, now I was just adding a bunch of pieces solely to cast shadows on the rest of the scene. So I'm just gonna separate out my scene so I have it here. Boom. We can delete the kit now. Boom. Because we're good to go. And I'm gonna just start lighting this thing.
Sweet.
And hit save.
That's always smart. Smurfberry BBQ says, tired of watching corporations drag down and wreck amazing IPs just to chase the next quarterly report. I'd rather spawn my own IP and have total creative freedom. Right on, Smurfberry. Go for it. If that's,
Power to you.
Your dream. Yeah.
We support you in that.
Yeah, take it to the max. Finite Infinitus says, took me a couple years to land my first freelance gig after graduating. Well, good on you, Finite, for sticking with it.
Yeah, congratulations.
I think that's not
uncommon.
Yeah, that's not rare. I think for many artists, I think the common thread between those who made it and those who didn't is they didn't give up. So good on you for sticking out that chapter of your course, and I'm sure there will be many challenges in your wake and in your future. So, and
that's a beautiful thing, that there's always a new challenge.
Isn't that right? Like if life were easy, everyone would do it. And if your goals and your dreams don't scare you, you're probably not dreaming big enough. So take some risks and all, echo if this is true for you, Max, but almost never in my life, when faced with the opportunity to go for it or not, have I regretted going for it, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, no, the things that I went and did that could be considered my biggest failures are the things that I'm most grateful that I did. I opened a VFX studio, and we ran that thing for a long time, or for 2 years, not a long time, but we ran it for 2 years, and then had to close down. it was the hardest 2 years of my life. We worked on great projects, but there were a lot of factors and things that I didn't expect and things that I wasn't ready for, and I learned so much during it that I'm so grateful for that experience. And it just it made being able to create KITBASH and Fuzzy and all these other things possible. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times you don't know where you're headed, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. But yeah, if you have the chance to go take a giant leap and grow and learn, then it's an amazing thing.
Then go for it, right?
Yeah.
So you're lighting now. Tell us, we can see this in your Redshift window. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so these arrows right here are the direction of the sun. And actually even more than that, I can show, let's see, physical sky, background, boom. So you can see the sky color. So let's say I bring the sun down. You're going to start to see this like sunset type of feeling, and if I keep going, it'll get even more and more dusk until it's finally pitch black night. And so I'm kind of spinning around the sun to see, what direction do I want the sun? Part of me wants it kind of peeking up over these buildings and starting to see some of the shadows hitting those buildings. I'm not quite sure yet, so a lot of the times I'll just kind of rotate it around and see what speaks to me and if anything's cool and what I prefer. And we could go straight daytime, but that seems just a little boring for me right now. So maybe some dusk.
So to catch y'all up in case you are just joining us, Max here is in 3D working on a piece where he is adjusting the light to set up his industrial image here. And he's used these kit pieces, kind of like Legos, to build the composition that he's wanted. And now, while in 3D software, he is trying to light it. What we've seen a lot of on this show previously were painting and 2D artists drawing. And for many of y'all I know, that's what we're used to seeing. We've seen so many people, and we've probably all drawn ourselves. And nowadays with 3D tools, you can use the lighting that you're seeing here in Max's window to achieve a whole bunch of things in super fast speeds.
Yeah, and I'm just moving around the camera real quick just to see if maybe there's another angle that speaks to me now that I have this lighting that I kind of like.
That part, what he's doing right now, where he has his whole scene set up in 3D and he can move the camera and then see what it'll look like through this window in his GPU render. What that does is it lets him see in darn near real time what his image will look like. And this is new technology in the last 3 or 4 years, where before waiting on a render like this would have taken hours and hours, if not days, just to see what it'll look like once you set the lighting. But all these new tools are exploding in their usability and availability to everyone out there.
Yeah, and a lot of the times what I'll do, I have a camera that I kind of like, but maybe just before I hit render, I'll just tweak it a little bit and see if there's maybe something else that I want to do.
We've got a buddy who just joined us, Maxx MA1X Burman BERMAN.
Oh my God! How many times I've Googled you?
Welcome to
Which
the party,
is hilarious because other Maxx Burman. I'm well acquainted with you.
Well acquainted. We meet again.
He's also a concept artist.
No kidding.
And he also worked on Game of Thrones. And the way I know this is because when he first worked on Game of Thrones, I got a ton of phone calls of people congratulating me for Game of Thrones, and it wasn't me.
Funny.
And then I was like, what the hell? So I looked up Maxx Burman Game of Thrones to be like, why did I get a credit on this? And turns out it was him.
That's crazy. Well, awesome to have you in the room with us here, Max. Thanks for swinging on by.
One day we're going to meet. It'll be like Highlander.
Well, awesome. We got 15 minutes here, Max.
Yeah, well.
See what we can pull off. If you all are just joining us, it is 9:45, which means 15 minutes until the Bob Ross Marathon comes back. We are very, very happy to be teamed up with Twitch and the team over at Bob Ross to bring this digital art portion into the Bob Ross Marathon. So if you don't know, the Bob Ross Marathon runs from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. And at 8 p.m. is when we come on and ferry everyone from 8 to 10 until the reruns start. So and what we're doing here is we're looking at digital art and the way digital art is made for movies and video games. It is our great pleasure to get to introduce you to this kind of art if it is your first time seeing it. It's been really cool to see how many different people have been reaching out to us or in the chat or sending us emails about how they had never seen this before and now all of a sudden their mind is blown and they found something that they're hyper curious in to see if it might be something for them. And there is a digital art revolution happening right now. All of these tools are evolving in a way and at crazy speeds to become available, and we're hoping to, or we are on this show, exploring those different tools, hardware and software that now people can jump into.
Yeah. So I think I got it for now, and we'll throw it into Photoshop and do some more tweaking. But I think for now this is kind of a nice start for it.
Okay. Well, speaking of different softwares and tools, Max has been using Maya, which you can see there in the background, and then he has his Redshift GPU renderer open. And now with that, he's got his frame and his composition as well as his lighting done. He's now going to kick it out into Photoshop, where he will put on his finishing touches. It's
always hard with this kind of stuff because you can move a camera forever to try to find that perfect composition and that, all of that kind of stuff. But we got 13 minutes, so
time to rip.
Luckily, I prepped some skies, but I think we'll use one of these skies.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. You're going to now use those photos as reference, or you're going to bash them in?
I'm just going to swap the sky and do some painting.
There we go. So, and for y'all out there who don't know what photo bashing is, Max, what's that?
Photo bashing is when you mess with a bunch of photos. I don't know. You take a bunch of photos and bash them all together to create something new.
And you're actually putting those photos in your images.
I am.
And so one thing we touched on the other night with James when he was pulling some of his images was where you get your images from. And James has a huge library. Where did you prep these images from, Max?
These are from photobash.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Photobash.com, a very cool resource and run by our good buddies Jonas DeRoe and Derek Zabraki.
Yep.
And check that out too if you're looking for cool images that are made for this kind of digital art. Skate on over to Photobash.
Just gotta set up a Z-depth pass.
While you do that, well, so actually tell us what.
Actually, can you hold it down for one second? Let me get this stuff out of here.
Cool. Well, so speaking of our good friends, ArtStation has been super cool and to jump in and help us make this show come to life. And while doing so, they've also offered everyone out there a 2-month free subscription to ArtStation Pro. ArtStation is essentially Facebook for digital artists. I don't know virtually any digital artist working in the professional world that isn't on ArtStation. And so I'll throw in the code into the chat here. Actually, Sky's just throwing the code in there. Thank you, Sky. And if you type in that code at artstation.com/promo, you can get 2 free months of ArtStation Pro, which is a pretty sweet boost to the account there. Now Max is doing a different render pass on this, and you can see what as his render engine there is working. He's going to pull out different passes, and I think he's doing a Z-depth pass here, which will give the layers of the image and the light different layers that he can then very quickly crop out in Photoshop, so he can work on just those singular layers, if that makes sense to y'all. So see how you can tell in this image as it gets pitch black in the back and then it progressively gets lighter to the front, then he will then be able to make adjustments to just those layers on his way in. That's a Z-depth pass. And while we're at it, we got 10 minutes here. I would love to show one thing. If we've got a 90-second video queued up here. And what we're going to show you is the trailer of the game Sleep Tight. So like we were talking about earlier, Max created a game called Sleep Tight with his childhood buddy about building pillow forts and fighting monsters in the bedroom. And we've got a trailer here for you as Max cues up this last little bit.
Awesome.
So if we could throw down that trailer, then we can check it out. You'll also see some super cool artwork in this game too. Our buddies from guys who worked on Zootopia and Wreck-It Ralph and Big Hero 6 helped Max bring this childhood game to life. So if we got that queued up, I'm not sure if we do, but if we do, let's throw it.
Every parent tells their child that the monsters aren't real. But how come every kid has the same story?
Zang, that is Sleep Tight. The chat has said they remember this game. If someone is, or they remember this trailer. Is it Tower Defense, the Pillow Fort edition? Good point. It's a base builder and a twin stick shooter clumped into one. Available now on Nintendo Switch and Steam. That is Sleep Tight.
Yeah.
Well, Max, so as we dive in here, I've got actually a question for the chat. Has anyone out there played Sleep Tight before? It launched in, got some hands here going up in the room. Well done. It came out on a Nintendo Switch July 26th. It is also on Steam and soon to be around the world. Big Mayberry says, gotta have to wait till July. No, it came out in July already. So it is available in the eShop or on Switch. That you can go ahead and snag it out there. Someone else asked, I think was Ian Vignair asked about the voice. Who is the voice? That's our good buddy Jake, and Jake does have the coolest voice in the world. He is a voice of Maker's Mark and Boeing Airline, and his son is a huge fan of Sleep Tight. So he jumped in and did the voice for that. And I believe that's the trailer too that starts with "Dinner's Ready," which is actually the boy's mom. And the boy, our good buddy Augie, actually voiced Tommy in the game. So
the characters,
the whole family is involved in the voices of that game. Okay, Maximilian. So what do we got here? We got 6 minutes. What are we looking at? There's your Z depth.
This is what a mad dash looks like.
Well, a lot can be done in 6 minutes.
Yeah,
it's a full 10%.
This is the Z depth, which is a really cool one because basically it shows you the depth of the image. So if I wanted to add atmosphere or fog, just by tweaking the Z depth, I can. Come on. Where are you? By tweaking the Z depth, I can make it go back in space or bring it close and bring it closer. And so that's what a Z depth is. And so I'm going to do this kind of. Just quickly see how much I can get through of this kind of foggy haze and get a little light rays coming in. And for these light rays, we want to have them just hitting that section.
JD Hilliard says I'm not allowed to play video games. Sorry, JD. I highly doubt it, though. You make the rules around here. Big Mayberry says, chance for happy trees. You know what?
Chance for happy trees.
You know, throw the odds in. Throw
It's
the odds
true.
in.
You
Roll
know,
the dice.
How many minutes we got?
We got 5 minutes. 5 happy trees. One per minute.
I promise you, one happy tree. I will do it.
Well, you're going super fast here. Polishing this thing up with 5 minutes to go. Big Mayberry's calculations are putting the chances at 0%.
0% cabin.
Yeah. Raji's going petition for cabin. Well, don't worry, y'all have 5 minutes before Bob Ross comes on and brings you all the happy trees. And Droki says sleep tight had significantly affected my productivity. Watching Max here. This is Max in the zone face. I know this face. You know, we need a second camera just on your hands on the keyboard. That's what we gotta get. Maybe I'll put it on. I'll take a photo and put it on Instagram. Well, that won't do it. I'll have to take a video. Here we go. This is an Instagram video of speed fingers. Here we go. If you're watching this on Instagram, maybe you saw it on the show too. Max is here with 4 minutes left.
Just getting in my head.
Ready to rip it. It's happening. With that, if y'all enjoy this, want to hang out with us some more, we would so love it. You're more than welcome to there's a follow button up there. That button is free. If you want notifications about when we're doing more of this, we will be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. During the Bob Ross Marathon until November 20th. You can also hit us up on Instagram at KITBASH3D. Or all the Insta tweet face spots. That's the official way to say that. Hit us up, hang out with us. If you are a 3D artist and want to check out KITBASH, some of the assets that Max has been working with here tonight, it is so funny watching you go so fast. You could get a free sample kit at KITBASH3D.com. There's also the Utopia contest going on right now. Get in the game on that one. We will be showing some entries. Hashtag KB3D contest. We'll be showing some entries on the show next week. Speaking of next week, Ash Thorpe will be on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Ash is our good buddy and an absolutely incredible artist. Worked on Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner and Call of Duty, literally all the Call of Duties and Total Recall. Be sure to join us here on Tuesday for that. What else we got? We got 2 minutes here, Max. Where are you? You're adjusting some brushes here in Photoshop.
Oh, I'm going for it.
Psychosis says very interested in the kits. Right on, Psychosis. Hit us up. Or also, Psychosis, there's a coupon code floating around in the chat here if you want to grab something. There's a happy tree filter. Happy tree filter. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have a happy tree filter?
No, my brush isn't working.
I think that the odds are going up. He's looking for trees, says Big Mayberry. The odds are going up.
We're looking for trees.
2 minutes for a happy little tree, folks. 2 minutes for a happy little tree. Can we get an odds boost? Someone out there. We got an odds boost. We got some tree boosts. Tree percent almost 1,005. Zero frost. That is a hefty tree boost, and I'm digging it. 2 minutes left. Can I get a 1,006? Can I get a 1,006 tree chance coming in 80%, ladies and gentlemen? Tree chance at 80%. Who's got 85 out there? We got 1 minute left.
We're gonna go right. we're gonna get really in
Trees
here.
coming at you. Oh, this is epic, Raji. You are right, because we got a tree. This is gonna happen, folks. I'm getting confirmation. Trees is coming in, folks. We got an 86%. Tree boost rising, happy little trees.
That's a happy little tree
Happy
right
little
there.
trees.
No,
Is it gonna be our secret?
this one's definitely our secret.
Any kind of tree you want, just as long as you're having fun.
You know, this one's definitely our secret.
Winner, planting the trees. Let's go, boys, says Mayberry. I think it's on 90%, says Ian McNair. Here we go. Tree in the house. We got some tree.
I just got to get some leaves on.
We got some foliage, some happy little foliage. You can't have a tree without some happy foliage.
Happy little foliage right there.
Man, we got 60 seconds. We have landed here, ladies and gentlemen. He pulled it off. Smurf Barbecue
Happy
says,
little
I had
trio.
no faith in the happy trees, but we have landed happy little trees, ladies and gentlemen. Hop on the happy little tree train. Bam, I'll take a high five from you, Maximiliano, because it is out of time for us, but we got a happy tree in. It's all going to be just good.
1 hour.
We're going to
Jeez.
take you out with a video from our good buddy Nick Hyatt, who has made a homage to Bob Ross. And from there, you go right over to the Bob Ross channel where the marathon is back at you. Thank you all for joining us for this edition of the KITBASH3D Festival. Maxx Burman, I'm Banks. Check y'all soon.